Welcome to the second half of Chocobo Chasers. You just heard our interview with Thomas Mitchells, and man, it was awesome. We had
Yeah.
such an amazing time with him. Eric was literally talking about right before we started recording that he's still coming off the high of that interview. Just an amazing dude, and someone we would gladly have on the show any other time. Very excited to see what he's going to be working on going forward because he's been a part of some amazing projects thus far. And with his wife also being involved in this business as well, it's I think it's going to be hard to keep him out of other projects going forward. So, Thomas, if you're listening, you rock, man. We really appreciate you. So we have a good bit of stuff to cover in tonight's second half. Also want to explain. So going forward, we are going to start releasing our episodes on Wednesdays. I know that typically we have done Tuesday releases and then we recorded it on Monday nights to go ahead and do that. We're going to shift it a day. Football season's here. What are you going to do?
Monday Night Football.
And
otherwise you're gonna see me just staring up at this.
Just Dash is going to be multitasking isn't the right word because not all of it's going to be here. And so and with our team playing next Monday, felt right to go ahead and make the change now. And so we'll go ahead and get that done.
Bitch.
Why is my TV on?
So let's go ahead and let's dive right in. So for this week's What Are You Playing segment, I'll actually go ahead and kick us off. I'm taking a break from Baldur's Gate 3 right now. I reached a point in the story where I'm upset with myself because
just tell everybody. Tell everybody what you did.
I was really hoping
tell
that
everybody what you did.
I made the mistake of killing Kaga in Act 1. This set off a chain reaction where the druids go and fight the tieflings in Emerald Grove, and everybody's dead. Damon's dead. Anybody like the tiefling resistance is dead. Everyone is gone. And Halsin won't join my party either, even though I saved him. I just royally fucked up. And so I am probably going to restart my game.
You pretty much got to.
I got a little fucked a little bit. So I know a lot of things now. I have a much deeper understanding of the game and its gameplay, and also to look at everything. And so I'm going to play as a mage actually next time, knowing what I know now. And I'm actually, or a wizard, I guess is the correct term, but I'm really excited to go ahead and do that. But I also started Starfield, and it is a lot of fun. I'm still pretty early on in the game, and so I am leaving New Avalon for like the second or third time, so still pretty early on, and definitely having a lot more fun in this Bethesda game than I have in really any other. Big part of that is some very, very crispy combat. And I mean, dog battles, like dogfights in space, are just so fun. From a narrative standpoint, I am interested. Dash and I kind of talked about it a little bit. The NPCs have just the soulless death stare that we come to, expect and love from Bethesda RPGs, and that's no different here. I mean, graphically, obviously, we're a huge monumental step up from Skyrim, which was the most recent release, or I guess Fallout 76 if you want to count that. But it looks a lot better, but they can't shake it. I don't know what it is, but
it's the engine.
They actually do have better facial expressions than
they do. Yeah, it's not so like Botoxy like all the time. It's like the best way I can explain it, but it is a fun game. I'm having a good time, and I only paid $10 because of PC Gamepass, and that was easy decision. Having a great time. So yeah, those two finished Miles Morales. It is still awesome, and I'm so hyped for Spider-Man 2. I seriously can't wait. There's some other games coming out too, but that may be like my biggest one I'm hyped for. There is one other, and we'll actually get to it later in the show, so I'm not going to dive into it so much right now. But Eric, I'll pass it on to you, man. What are you playing right now?
Starfield, still finished. New Game Plus. It's actually kind of crazy the way they shift into New Game Plus. You don't go back to the main menu. I won't say anymore. But whoever's played it and finished it that's listening, you'll kind of understand. It's not something I really figured was coming when I started this quest. I was like, all right, cool. You touch some artifacts. Let's see what goes down. Didn't see this coming.
Well, now when you do New Game Plus, what transfers over? Is it just the skills, or let's say if you did research?
Your skills level, you keep all your research.
Okay, good. Because I was like,
I think that would make too many people upset because that's such a grind, kind of. You have to go find those resources.
You have to dump skill points just to even be able to learn shit.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the gripes I have is that you can't look for specific items on research. It only will like track everything that makes that recipe. So even if you have everything else, it still tracks it. And it's like, man, what the hell did I not have? So you have to go back and look sometimes. That's a pain. And another gripe I had, I really wish they would have had more. The companions were a little bit too much of goody two shoes, all of them. There weren't really any bad guy companions. Yeah. I mean, of course, I did for the most part a good guy run. So like, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one quest line where maybe you might get some evil companions, but I can't tell you because I didn't choose that way. So,
right.
But you know that those are two of the big things. The no local map really pisses me off. I just have no idea why they wouldn't put that in. I think that's their biggest oversight. A lot of people complain about the inventory. The inventory doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it hasn't bothered me so far.
What am I going to do? Spend fucking 3 hours looking at the inventory? I don't give a shit about that.
I was thankful that they had an option to sort by ammo type because like that's what I wanted.
Yeah. Sort by ammo type. You could sort it by the weight, value. I mean, that's what I was doing. I mostly just sorted stuff by the weight. You know, if it's under the aid section or food or anything like that, miscellaneous. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple stuff. But no, I'm rambling. But I do think it's going to be worth it to play this game multiple times because it adds up to what you get to do.
Yep.
It's awesome. Dash, what about you, man? What have you been playing?
All right. So I'll start off with the not obvious one, or maybe it might be obvious if you listened to last week's, but before Starfield was available to us regular people, I've had enough time to finish up that Goodbye Volcano High game, which total, it took about 6 hours for the full playthrough.
Okay, so it was a little shorter then.
Yeah, it's not a very long experience, but I feel like in that short amount of time, it does make an impact at least. Maybe not a major meteor shattering impact, but it does make an impact, I think. I kind of would rate it like maybe a 7.
And not every game needs to be a 9 or like you need your Days Gones, which is like a perfectly fun, playable just game.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like, all the characters, they're very lovable and there's, good interactions that you get with the individual characters, and depending on your relationship with each one, near the end you get additional scenes with each one. So there's a couple characters I didn't even get to see, and I was looking through the achievements, and that even for the characters I was close to, there still were some scenes I was missing apparently, because it says like the achievements basically like experience all extra scenes with X character. So there's a lot of content that I probably did miss, and maybe at some point I'll have to go back and do another playthrough and figure out what choices affect my relationships with certain characters better so I can see those additional scenes.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely still a good experience and one I could easily see myself going back to do again. Only thing is like the ending just felt like it came so suddenly, and
the pacing at the end may have been a little bit of an issue.
I guess for me it was kind of like I wish that it was a longer experience, because I felt like there was more that they could have done to lead up to the ending. And then I guess the way it ends, it's kind of like, we know that the meteor's coming, but you don't see it actually come. So it kind of, for me, there's kind of like that hope, like, well, I always live by the philosophy of if they don't die on screen, it's not official, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't see a meteor take them out. What if it missed the planet or something? Can I have like something clarity? And that's kind of like the same with Final Fantasy 16's ending. I love just having closure.
Yeah, but we're getting DLC for that
Yeah,
though. So
yep,
there's a chance that we
yes.
can that our boy will still be a happy boy.
But
And
yeah, so like I finished Goodbye Volcano High like 1 hour before Starfield was available for play, and that's what I've been playing nonstop since then. And it is definitely one of those games that you can just dump hours into and not do anything significant, because you could just like explore random planets that have no story or quest whatsoever. That's what I did. I ended up like doing one whole system, which took me a couple days, because I'm trying to on certain planets when I'm trying to do 100%. Like I'm a completionist, so when I see a percentage bar and it's not 100%, I'm grinding out everything in the area to make sure it's 100 before I'm gone. So like right now, before this, I'm working on the soul system right now. So
You're gonna finish this game in fucking after Christmas.
10 years, yeah. You're a masochist.
The first DLC is gonna be out, and that's still gonna be grinding away on like the fourth system.
And yeah, I'm not gonna do it system by every system, obviously, because that's just too much. And maybe I'm gonna focus more on the story here soon. Because just there's the Cyberpunk coming up, there's Mortal Kombat, and there's other games I want to get started on or finish by a certain point. So I can't play Starfield forever, but it's kind of like been my one focus. But let me see. I was on a train of thought and then I lost it. Starfield. So yeah, I mean it's your run of the mill Bethesda game. So if you like Bethesda games, you'll enjoy it. It's not particularly hard or challenging, except for the space battles. I feel like that's the only part that really engages me and makes me feel like it's a challenge, when it's like a 1v3, 1v4, and it's
Definitely.
like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm stuck with like a crappy ship that I looted on a planet instead of my main one, because you can't swap ships until you're like in a star base. I think maybe I don't know.
You
I
have, you have
could.
to
I'll take
land.
your
You have
word
to
for it.
land. You have to land. Register the ship you stole if you want to keep it.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to keep it, you just switch back to your ship, but you have to go to like a Starfield thing.
Yeah. So I'll be like
Gotcha.
running around in like a Crimson Fleet ghost and get hit by like 3 ships, and I'll be like, this is not my good ship. Because I've looted like some of the big ships from like Ecliptic mercenaries and stuff. So those are like my favorite to use. And they come with like paralyzing beams that you can use to board even more ships. So space is fun, and it makes it like, what I love about Bethesda games, and you really see it in Starfield, is they streamline a lot of their stuff. There's no complexity to it usually. So like ever since like Skyrim and Fallout 4, their games have been very streamlined. Like, so it's very easy for anybody to get into, whether it's difficulty or just the mechanics. Because like I've played other space sims like Elite Dangerous and X, and they really hammer you with a lot of technical stuff.
Shout out to our boy Tony.
Yeah,
The Elite
Dangerous master himself.
Yeah. So, I mean, for people who are intimidated by that, thankfully, you don't have to build your own ship. You could take this existing ship, you can go to a fleet person, just you upgrade like the core components, like the reactor and the weapons. You don't have to worry about building a whole ship from scratch. And there's some pretty good looking ships.
People are building the shit out of stuff online.
And if they're putting those guides online too. So if you want to build a specific ship, you just find that guide.
It's a lot of connection between everybody, and I love that they're not just holding on to like, oh, this is my secret, and just gatekeeping. Like, I built a Pelican from Halo. Here's
somebody built the Magic School Bus and it's fucking dying.
And TikTok is very handy for this too, because you'll see like, oh yeah, you want to get this top tier armor right at the beginning of the game, because like I like most people probably looked into that glass case in the basement of the lodge and got that Mark 1 armor, and that's good enough to carry you for a while, because I have not found armor in anything better stat wise and protection.
There's actually like 1 or 2 sets better than that in the whole
Yeah.
game, pretty much.
And that, I think the one that you showed me, the really cool looking armor,
Yeah.
that's the one I want, because honestly, armor doesn't look cool in this game, and that's one of my
Yeah, the best looking armors are some of the weakest, but that one you need to do United Colonies quest line if y'all want the best looking armor in the game.
Okay.
Like, yeah, like I get they're trying to make like scientifically
Realistic,
accurate like space suits, but come on. I don't
Let us look cool, goddammit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like like you don't have like the Daedric armor like Skyrim had, or you don't have power armor like Fallout.
Not yet, we
So
don't.
yeah.
So
Mods are
somebody already
coming.
put the Mass Effect armor in.
So there are like lore wise, there's mechs in this game, but I'm not sure if they're pilotable, but that'd be cool. Also, why aren't there ground vehicles in this game?
That's another gripe I had too. It's kind of strange.
Yeah. Todd Howard's like, oh, you got a booster pack. That's good. I dumped all 4 points into that booster pack training, and I still can't fucking get shit out of that.
Oh yeah, if there's like regular gravity and shit like that, you're gonna take a while to run places. If you're in 0G, that shit's pretty fucking cool.
And it doesn't really like make you go faster. You just get to fly.
You just float. Oh, dude, it's so cool.
Yeah.
Just fucking floating through fucking space and shit.
Yeah. Or like, you go on a planet where there's like 0.01 Gs and you just launch someone into space and they're gone. So there's some fun there. And, like, it's not perfect by any means, but it's a great game. You're going to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. And obviously all 3 of us are playing it right now. Eric's beating it. Dash, I was going to say, I would imagine you'll be the next to beat it, but because you're doing a lot of other stuff,
this is not a good game for me, because I work off a mindset where I do all the side content first and then I do the main quest. Like when I played Fallout 4, I did not touch that main quest. I went around that whole fucking map and explored every point there possible, and then I did the main quest. So there's like a lot. Like, I was like beefed up by the time I beat the game at least, but yeah, I mean, that's just kind of like my gameplay style has always been like, but I guess the way people are describing what you can do with the New Game Plus, I feel like it might be beneficial. And honestly, there's no benefit into getting 100% completion in every system, because what I'm learning really quick is exploring planets can get kind of old really fast, especially because a lot of these outposts are the same templates over and over again. So it's kind of like,
it's like their typical dungeons, just copy paste.
Yep. So, but I mean, it definitely, I'm trying to figure out how much time I put into it, but probably like 2 days worth, so 48 hours or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think my playtime is like almost 3 days of playtime.
Yep.
You guys sicken me.
I say that out loud. I sicken myself.
We are crazy.
We're just passionate. I think that's the right frame of mind. It's just, we love games, and everybody's got their hobbies. Yeah, it's our side hustle here. So anyway, so moving on, we actually talked about this a little bit previously in one of our episodes, which is video game adaptations. And one of the better video game adaptations is Castlevania's anime on Netflix, which is incredible. If you haven't watched it, please do. The voice acting is great. The action is awesome. The character design, really, I don't really have a lot of negatives. If you played the game, there's a lot of lore in the game, which is why there's so many games in the Castlevania series, even though the Metroidvania literally comes from Castlevania and Metroid. And so that style of gameplay, while it might be considered a little shallow just in terms of like the style of gameplay. These stories are very well fleshed out and just awesome. And I think there's 4 or 5 seasons of the show. But anyway, the reason I bring it up, Castlevania has a spin-off series, Castlevania Nocturne, which is coming out September 28th. And while the original series was about Victor Belmont, this one is, or Trevor Belmont, I'm sorry, this is going to be about Richter Belmont, set during the events of the French Revolution. I believe it's going to be made by the same people, which is awesome. And so definitely be sure to check it out because that show is absolutely incredible. So one thing that we were really excited to talk about tonight is we are just 2 weeks away from the release of Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, which we are going to dive into a lot around its release time. But one thing that we really wanted to talk about tonight is Cyberpunk 2.0, which is a huge, massive update that is going to be coming out this Friday, is going to be occurring. And this update really is going to kind of put Cyberpunk into the state that it was intended to be upon its initial release. Obviously, we've learned a lot about the game and why it was released early. It was pressure from stakeholders, and that's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes sometimes. And the game was a buggy mess to the point where it even got removed from the PlayStation Store, something that I had never seen happen with any other game prior to that point. And now we're getting to a point where the game has been out for 3 years and it's very playable now and it's very fun. It still, CD Projekt Red writes their asses off in every game that they do, and Cyberpunk is no different. Canada pulls in a great performance. Everybody else who's in the game is awesome. And now we get to see Idris Elba as kind of the main, famous person in the game. And so that's going to be really exciting. But the 2.0 update is huge. Eric, I know that you're really excited for it.
I think I might have been wrong on telling you it was Friday. It looks like they're going to give the official date on Friday is what it says.
Gotcha.
So
we're going to find out quickly.
Mhm.
And the update, however, is going to come out before the
yeah,
DLC
which it should, because it gives everybody time to catch up and start a new
and
playthrough.
reacclimate.
Because basically you have to you basically need to do a new playthrough. If you start from where you left off, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because they have said that this is how the game was intended to be released. So restarting is probably in everybody's best interest.
Definitely.
Shame they don't have like a new game plus there.
Yeah, and you get to hang out with Pan Am Palmer again.
Never a bad time. So we talked a little bit last week about the weirdness of the whole Charles Martinet Nintendo ambassador. It was just weird. Last week, I think it was like the day after we released our episode. I feel like this happens all the time, like right after we release our episode, major news comes out. But so they finally came out with a Nintendo Direct-esque announcement for Charles Martinet, and they didn't say yet who is going to be the new Mario, but Charles is going to be at Nintendo events. He's going to be kind of a mascot almost, which is a little weird, just because it still does kind of feel like they pushed him out, because he specifically said, "I'm not retiring," and I don't know, it just feels kind of icky and gross a little bit. But also he's an older gentleman, like, so I do understand it to an extent, and they are a business, whatever. But for a guy who's been doing it for 30 years, obviously we grew up on Nintendo games, so Mario, he has been the voice of Mario since Super Mario 64. So literally, like, one of the biggest games of our childhood is where he got his start as Mario. And literally ever since then, he played Mario's dad in the Mario movie. He will not be Mario, though, in Super Mario Wonder. So we'll find out who the new one is. As long as it's not Chris Pratt, honestly, I think we'll be.
I was just going to joke that it's going to be Chris Pratt going forward.
Does Chris Pratt even do anything for video games? I don't think he would ever have any desire to, honestly. Probably.
I don't know. I hope not, to be honest. We're having a lot of famous people though enter the video game space. I mean, Norman Reedus, Keanu Reeves, Idris Elba, and those are just a few of the more recent examples. We've had a ton more, but so it's just the whole situation is kind of something to keep an eye on because it's just a little weird. But
Yeah.
I mean,
And like, I guess the one thing that caught my eye on this is kind of like they're just talking about like his role as a Mario ambassador is that he's going to travel the world and like spread
he's
the
gonna
joy.
wahoo like to
That's
people
not
like
he's been doing that. That's what he does when he goes to conventions. It's
yeah.
like it's almost as if it's like Nintendo's given him his blessings to continue doing that and represent their like property in a way.
It's very odd, and well, it just feels weird. But we'll we'll watch what happens. It's gonna be interesting. So another one, and we'll kind of quickly hover over this because this isn't super game relevant, but Hollywood Studios in Hollywood is going to be having their horror nights for Halloween, and they're going to be doing some Last of Us themed a lot of Last of Us themed stuff to kind of coincide with that. Our brother Adam, shout out Saints Block Party podcast, is talking about potentially taking his daughter, and so we'll have to wait and see.
Think about going to Orlando for it too, because they got the Universal Studios here.
That'd be super dope. If you do end up going, you'll have to let us know because I live in Utah.
Yep.
We don't have things like that here. So
what I did hear from someone who's been to both parks is that they're saying that the Hollywood Universal Studios, like Last of Us Haunted House, is so much better than what we have here in Orlando. So unfortunately, I might not be getting the best experience if I do go to Orlando.
I may have to take a quick flight to LA and go hang out with Adam. We'll have to see. But yeah, we won't hover over that too much. But just thought it was interesting. Like we're starting to see video games. Obviously, this is a major adaptation with HBO, and that's what the studio opening is going to be kind of based on. But they do have Joel and Ellie's voice as Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So we'll have to see. Obviously, The Last of Us is one of the most kind of prized IP right now in terms of really adaptation for everything, whether it be film, whether it be books, whether it be additional games. Like there's just so much room to kind of work with there. So the funniest tweet of the week happened last week where PlayStation UK was talking about the Spider-Man 2 Deluxe Edition and how it came with all of these amazing things and how it came with this neat little Venom statue, and just made the terrible decision to voice, are you ready for 19 inches of Venom? And the internet had a field day with it. Probably one of the most quoted tweets I've ever seen.
More than the actual like Spider-Man 2.
More, yeah, the reviews that the quote tweets got, and the people who quote tweeted, oh my god. Ben Starr, voice actor for Clive Rossfield in Final Fantasy 16, probably had the worst one too.
I loved it.
Oh my god. If you're on Twitter, it's not X, it is Twitter. Please go ahead and look it up because it is. I can't do it justice without showing the tweets themselves. So definitely be sure to go ahead and check that out because everybody needs 19 inches of Venom. So now that we've kind of hovered over our little weekly bits that have been going on in gaming, there is some stuff that is really cool and fun to talk about right now, and then something else that is not super cool and fun. But start with the positive here. We have noticed a trend over the gaming sphere over the last, I don't even think this is a last year thing. It's probably the last like 5 to 6 years of crossplay becoming more of a standard practice. The reason I'm bringing this up is because Mortal Kombat 1 has announced that crossplay will indeed be a thing. It's not going to be available immediately upon release. I do appreciate that transparency from NetherRealm, but they are going to go ahead and work to make it happen as quickly as possible. Baldur's Gate 3 is also going to be implementing crossplay, which is awesome, especially considering you have players on Xbox, later in the year, whenever that version will end up coming out, PlayStation and PC. I have friends who are playing on PlayStation, and I'd love to be able to start a campaign with them and, be able to kind of see that. And so I'm trying to remember what game it kind of started with, but I want to say Fortnite was the one that there was this huge battle over, where I want to say PlayStation was the one who was saying, no, we're not ever going to do crossplay with Xbox. And it's like,
Yep.
Why the hell not? Your games will sell better if your players know they can play with their friends on another console. And then if anything, you can just be like, hey, I love playing on PlayStation. You should come over to my gaming ecosystem and play with me. Like, you get free advertising. It doesn't make sense to me. I know
think
that
there was
Go
like
ahead,
there's like a whole history behind it, because I think way back when Xbox was the top console, I think there was like talks about trying to do cosplay, and Xbox like, nah, we don't want to do it. And now if PlayStation's in the same position, I feel like they're kind of like remembering that moment. But at the same time, PlayStation has been very questionable on their decisions that they've been making.
a lot of anti-consumer stuff lately.
It's like PlayStation went through all these hoops to overcome Xbox, because they were getting beat the fuck up by the 360 era Xbox, and then PS4 came out, and they were like, hey, banner after banner, we're going to give you gamers everything they want, because Microsoft started making these questionable decisions with the Xbox One. So now I feel like we're coming back to that point where, since PlayStation's the one in power, they're making these questionable decisions because they're getting cocky. They think, oh, people will support us no matter what.
Yeah, I think they're just getting too comfortable, because we've seen, a lot of what was the issue from, sorry. God, I'm fucking dying here. Oh my God. Hang on one sec. I gotta get a drink.
No, you good. But no, so you had like you said, like you had PlayStation had their like downturn where Xbox just was king in the world, like 360. Dude,
Yep.
Halo 3, Gears of War. Like get Resistance, Fall of Man out of my face if I have to choose between those three.
Oh man.
Or like Killzone. If I have to choose between those four, fuck out of here.
The one time, like, this was like when the Xbox and the PS3 first came out, and my dad for Christmas got me a PS3, and I was so upset because all my friends had the 360, and I wanted to play Halo, and I wanted to play Gears, and all I had was fucking Lair and Motorstorm.
Yeah.
So it was like, I was upset, but I mean, it was a console that eventually grew on you.
Yeah, it had a good end of its life cycle, but like The Last of Us came out for it.
Yeah. Uncharted, like they had some really solid, but like, from having a unnecessarily expensive launch, because I think it was priced at $600.
Yeah, it was very expensive.
The PS5 wasn't even that much, which is insane.
Yeah, apparently the biggest part of that was because of the hardware they had.
The Blu-ray player, yeah.
And also the backwards compatibility, because that first generation PS3 could play PS1 and PS2 games on it.
Yep.
And those consoles are still worth a good bit of money today, if you're able to go ahead and get them. And so it's just, but Dash, I think you hit on a really important point, that whoever has kind of been ahead of these console wars has always kind of showed that they felt like they were ahead. And PlayStation, I think it was a safe assumption to say that they came out ahead in the PS4, Xbox One era, just in terms of console sales, it wasn't even close. And in terms of games, especially the last like 2 to 3 years, PlayStation put out just the most unreal like 3-year span of games that really any console has had since like some earlier consoles when development cycles didn't take as long. And so now we're at a point where you're increasing costs on a service where people are wondering if they should even pay the original cost. And, you know, for them to, when this whole crossplay thing started, they were acting like, why should we conform to them when they, they suck, basically. But it is just a giant string of questionable decisions. So, but no, we're starting to see it's becoming the norm, and that's how it should be. Everybody should be able to play together. I mean, in a perfect world, there's one console and there's PC, and it's every game's playable everywhere. You can play Last of Us on Xbox, you can play Halo on PlayStation, you can play Zelda on PC. Like it's just, but that's not how it is. It's a competitive market, and you'll never see Zelda or Mario on other platforms aside from Nintendo. You'll never see, I was just about to say you'll never see The Last of Us, but The Last of Us is on PC too. So
Yep.
We're just at a time where PC is kind of the exception, except for Nintendo. Nintendo will never put their games on anything else except for a Nintendo console. So,
And maybe mobile phones.
that's we literally had a discussion earlier. Mobile phones are not gaming devices, even if they're trying to release Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil Village on the new iPhone. I don't care. So one other discussion that actually became very relevant today, and I don't even think we have really had a chance to talk about it so much. I'm actually getting it pulled up on my phone so that I can make sure I have kind of the accurate information here. So Unity is an engine that is used by a lot of developers. It's actually very much used by a lot of indie developers. And it's a cross-platform game engine, and games like Rust, Hollow Knight, Pokemon Go, they have introduced a new fee for some of their developers, and it's going to start taking effect in 2024. And indie developers have very quickly responded, saying that they are pissed at this development. So basically what it is they will have to pay 20 cents for every game installed past specific subscription thresholds. When they hit, so there'll be a number, say 10 million or something like that. And if your game goes above that, for every single install past that point, they'll have to pay that developer 25 cents, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when your game is on Xbox Gamepass and there's 25 million subscribers, that's very, very easy to go ahead and cross that threshold. And then any additional sales at that point, if it's not on Xbox Gamepass, or if somebody wants to buy it on PlayStation or PC, it's going to impact your sales. And one developer, I'm trying to remember who it was, has already come out and said, if you want this game, go ahead and download it now, because we are going to remove it from the store, which is insane that developers, I mean, they're just going to try and basically say fuck you to Unity until they go ahead and they decide to change what is looming to be a very, very controversial decision.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of surprised that really just not everybody's on Unreal at this point. I guess indie and mobile developers, it's probably kind of a different animal, but for every mainline console game at this point, unless you have your own engine, and there are obviously limitations with that. Destiny is a perfect example of a game that is held back by their engine, and Bethesda games are a game that are held back by their engine. But Unreal, we've seen some of the, they've done tech demos and things like that, and we have seen firsthand like how powerful, how beautiful this engine can be, and the type of scope it can have. And so, and they are much bigger than Unity too, which makes the whole decision all the more surprising, because you'd expect, if Unity is going to make a decision like this, is because they're following the suit maybe of a larger company.
No,
But
they're
that's not the
apparently
case.
I was just reading they're gonna count demo downloads as
Oh,
as that too. It's gonna count to the total as well. So it's like,
oh. So not even they're not even paying for the game. You're just taking a loss at that point.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think like the most concerning thing that comes out of this is, and it's not going to affect bigger developers as much. This is a way that smaller developers are going to be targeted by maybe hate campaigns or something like that. Because if they're using that Unity, then all someone has to do is buy the game, uninstall, reinstall, uninstall, reinstall, or they could probably script a bot that does that. And because it's not based on purchases, it's based on installs. You could have someone bought up just you could have someone bought up a whole bunch of instances of reinstalling this and deleting this game, and it's going to hit the small developer with all these additional costs from Unity because Unity's counting each one of those installs and charging them for it. So it's going to be bad for harassment campaigns if people target them using that.
Well, and what's funny is there's been such bad backlash. There's not been one positive spin on this entire thing. Devolver Digital, who is a production company mainly for indie games, has said definitely include what engine you're using in game pitches. It's important information, kind of as a little dig to Unity, because they acquire indie games and then they push them into production for companies. Genshin Impact is a game that's made in Unity, which is one of the biggest games in the entire world. It's just, one thing to kind of call out is Unity. The CEO of Unity is the same. He used to be an exec at EA, and brought forward the idea at one point that players should have to pay actual money, like microtransactions, to reload bullets into a game. Like that was an actual decision that potentially crossed the desk.
I just came across a tweet from Steven Tillo. That might be the one that you were thinking of. He's one of the Axios gaming writers, but he says he got a major update from Unity about their new fees, and Unity regrouped and now says only the initial installation of a game triggers a fee, and demos mostly won't trigger fees. Mostly, that's the words he used at least, and devs are not on the hook for Game Pass. So it looks like this is kind of something that might be subject to change due to the backlash. But
well, who's going to be on the hook for Game Pass? Microsoft. Microsoft's going to tell them to go fuck themselves.
Yeah. Or it's definitely okay. Wait, let's see. As for Game Pass and other subscription services, Witten said that developers like Aggro Crab would not be on the hook as the fees are charged to distributors, which in the Game Pass example would be Microsoft. So yes, Microsoft would be on the hook for that. Steam would be on the hook for that or something. So
Steam's definitely not going to pay
if
that.
you think in a second that Valve is going to pay that money, then you're off your rocker. Like
this is an example. We see this all the time in the industry where people try to add fees or conditions to their product, and that's usually widely used by like smaller people, and they try to act like, oh, that was not our intention all this time, and they try to backpedal, but it's only because of the backlash. I think there's that whole thing with D&D licensing where like they were gonna like do something about like homebrew content or license.
Yeah, they were going to try to make people pay for homebrew content or something like that.
And they had to backpedal because there was backlash. And they're like, no, this isn't what we meant by that. And it's like bullshit. It was. You just got caught, and now you have to.
And now people are upset, and it's just
So we see this all the time, but it's just like, if people are quiet and complacent, they're gonna do it, and we gotta fight back and push back on when they try to do this. And like, Unity is a very popular engine for small developers. I'm not sure what the costs are for using it, but it's very widely used, big and large, or small and large. So the only people who are going to be hurt by this are the smaller ones.
which, you see some of the most innovative and, some of the most interesting art in video games comes from indie developers. And obviously indie has a very, big place in our hearts. We've interviewed indie actors. We've seen firsthand and talked with them about the love they have for those games, and being able to see that you do get to have a lot more freedom and a lot more just kind of transparency in terms of development, and in terms of just a lot more information. And so it sucks that the little guys are being hurt in this case, because they make some really beautiful and awesome games. So it's going to be something that we're kind of just gonna have to watch, and hopefully people keep fighting, because if they do, we are going to get what we're looking for here, and fingers crossed. So with that is kind of everything I think that I was going to go ahead and talk about tonight. Do you guys have anything that you wanted to bring up, or any other news that we hadn't talked about so far?
One more thing, I forgot about this. Dune Spice Wars, a game that's been in early access by Shiro Games. They make games like War Tales, and is it Northgard that they made?
It sounds like possibly. I know I've seen that game
Yeah,
on Steam.
Northgard. Yeah, Northgard and War Tales. I didn't play Northgard, but I did play War Tales. War Tales is actually a lot of fun. Didn't have much of a story, but you kind of just dropped into this medieval land, and you build up a mercenary company, and you just go around taking jobs and doing mercenary shit. It's actually pretty fun. You can go steal shit, you can go kill random people, or you can be good people. But this is actually this game is based on Dune, the books and the movie, it looks like. And it's kind of in that same style as Northgard. And that finally goes into 1.0 this week. Looks like on Friday. It's been in early access for since April of 22. So I believe it might be on Game Pass. Let's go check that out. That might be something to check out. That might be the what are you playing this week for next Monday for me. Let's go look. Dune Spice Wars. It is on Game Pass.
There we go.
There we go. Might have something in there.
Getting our Game Pass plugin. We really gotta talk to Microsoft about a sponsorship.
Phil Spencer owes me money. I'll be straight up with you.
They want to send us t-shirts, we'll do whatever they want. But no, that's actually really cool. Game Pass has some amazing games on there right now. And it is one of the best values in gaming, if not the best, when they've got content on there. I mean, $10 a month, you really can't beat it, especially if you're playing
Payday 3. Payday 3's in a couple weeks. 9/21.
Sea of Stars, Life of P.
Yeah, I mean, next Thursday you get to play Payday 3. I mean, look, Payday 3 is going to have a lot of microtransactions probably, but the benefit of that is you don't have to fucking pay it.
Yeah. And you can just play with your buds and just have a rocking time.
Go rob banks and shit. That's it for me.
Dash, anything else you wanted to cover, man?
Well, it's this 20th anniversary of Steam, so they got a little promotion going on there.
Yep.
And so it looks like there's some games on discount too. Like they broke it down by their years too, where they show the top 10 games for every year of Steam.
That's cool.
And it's satisfying because I go through those. And it's like I have about half of those games in each year. Starting with the year I started, I forget what year it was, but the first game I ever got on Steam was Dawn of War 2. So that was kind of when I started my library, and now my library is at 752 games.
Jesus Christ.
I just picked up Hades today because it was half off, and I'm okay.
Man. Yeah. Have you ever played it before?
No, I have not. So
oh man. Okay.
At some point I'm gonna be playing that.
You will not be able to put it down. Also, Titanfall 2 is $2.99 on Steam, which worth every penny.
Free on Game Pass too.
And apparently it's also the 20th anniversary of Call of Duty. And this is
Yeah,
probably
a lot of the games are on sale.
and this is probably going to be the one of the most unreasonable things I've ever seen because I don't really look at the prices of these games anymore. But looks like every Call of Duty game since Black Ops 2 is still $60
for the like main price.
for
Yeah.
the regular price. If it's on sale for $20 for most of these games now each. But for that, that's not even including the DLC because these had like the season pass map packs and stuff like that. So you have to buy those map packs, and those are still $15 each.
It's insane.
I'm like, this is a 11-year-old game. Why are we still charging full price for DLC and the game? Just make a Game of the Year edition or some, like premium gold edition and just sell that for $60 if you really want to do that.
They won't, because they just want to keep sucking people in.
Because I would love to go back to like the Black Ops zombie maps, but I'm not going to pay $60 just to have all the zombie maps. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there are some really good ones actually. Resident Evil Village is $19.99. Elite Dangerous, which we talked about a little bit earlier, is $7.50.
Red Dead Redemption 2, $20.
Starship Troopers Extermination is 20% off, so $23.99.
Left 4 Dead is
2
99
is 99 cents.
Yeah, there you go.
That is
Fear 2 is $14.99.
Control $9.99. So there are some great values that you can find on there. Hades, as Dash mentioned, Hades is such a fun game. And I played it on console, and I think it would be so much better on PC.
Yeah.
But
I'm a sucker for those roguelike games too.
And you will absolutely love it. The story is fun. The voice acting is great. Hades 2 is incoming. So once we start to see some more information for that, obviously we'll go ahead and we'll cover it here. But a lot of really good stuff. So Mass Effect Legendary Edition is 80% off. It's $11.99 right now.
Wow, Mass Effect 2 by itself is more than that on Steam right now.
There's no point in buying those individual ones at this point, though.
When you can get the Legendary Edition,
because the Mass Effect 2 that you get on Steam doesn't even include the DLC.
Oh, Battlefield Remastered's $11.99. I heard that game's fun.
Yeah, heard some really positive things. Master Chief Collection is $9.99. A lot of really good stuff. So if you're listening, definitely be sure to check out the 20th anniversary sale because there are 6,078 games on sale right now.
Total War Warhammer 2. Don't bother with 3. It's not good. 2 is really good. If you get 1, you get Immortal Empires, and it's fantastic.
I think I got all of 1 and 2 at least.
Yeah.
Including the DLC.
3 was such a letdown, dude.
Awesome. Well, I think that covers everything that we were going to go ahead and talk about tonight. So with that, we will go ahead and we'll call it a night. Again, we want to thank Thomas Mitchells for coming on the show. It was an absolute honor. We have some really, really exciting interviews coming up to go ahead and share with you guys over the next few weeks. So stay tuned because we're constantly working on getting new people onto the show and letting you guys hear from some people that you've loved seeing in games, whether it be actors, devs, developers, devs and developers are the same thing, directors. We're always looking to add new talent to our portfolio. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll call it a night. And thanks everybody for listening. We always appreciate you.
Yep. Thank y'all.
Yep. Have a good one.